Om Shri Sairam. Welcome to all as we embark on day 10 of our divine journey through the sacred literature Satyam Shivam Sundaram. Let us begin this blessed session by invoking Swami's presence with three Oms followed by Gayatri Mantra. Om. Om. स्वः तत्सद्विदुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात् ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात् ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. Sairam sister, you can continue now.
Okay. Baba writes strongly against teachers or gurus who compromise the ideal for the sake of name and fame. For one purpose of his advent is to lead them back into restitute. He condemns partisanship and faction in the sacred name of God. In fact, he will not admit that God can ever be angry or jealous. Do not believe descriptions of the Lord in which he is pictured as greedy or businesslike or angry or jealous or vengeful. He is above all pettiness and bargaining. He is prema, karuna, and shanti. When a pot of nectar is hit by a stone, it leaks. But does the nectar turn bitter? No, it can never change its sweetness. Baba's is the message of harmony. When the all pervasive, all inclusive, pure existence is described, the matter and method depend on the outlook of the speaker and the understanding of the listener. When it is described through attributes, it gets various names and forms. When the sadhaka realizes that it is beyond all attributes that the mind can conceive, then it is referred to as Brahman. Therefore, all quarrel between sex is mere secular rivalry indulged in for the vulgar pleasure it gives to inferior minds, says Baba. Baba has also pointed out that sannyasis deserve respect only if they have given up all desires, even the desire to develop their ashrams. The bondage to the ashram itself becomes for them a burden, a shramam. Instead of giving up all ties, such gurus have yoked themselves more tightly to the plow of samsara. They have degraded themselves into beasts of burden. Baba says that people have lost faith in Sanatana Dharma and the institution of sannyas itself on account of the activities of such men who continuously exert pressure on society in order to earn name and fame. Gurus such as these, Baba says, train many disciples, and so they must make a special effort to help the trainees to acquire the right outlook and get fully immersed in the contemplation of the Lord. Baba has also pointed out the mistake of giving the Guru a status higher than what is due to him. Respect the Guru as the person who shows you the path, who looks after your progress, and who is interested in your welfare. That is all. Do not take him to be all inclusive and all powerful. The Lord alone can be treated and felt as the universal. Baba always emphasizes moderation. He does not advocate asceticism for all. He speaks of the body as a God given implement. Understand it well, make it obey your will. Never bow down to it and follow its whimsical demands. Train it carefully to subserve your welfare. Be on the outlook for the first signs of damage or decay. Keep it in good trim by disciplined activities, moderate food, moderate sleep, an attitude of prema towards all, an outlook to fortitude in the face of pain and anxiety, and in the face of success and good fortune. These are more important than drugs to cure the illness of the body. Even a capacity to discriminate, if applied to one's physical condition, will help you to overcome disease. Baba writes often against the starving of the body by the over enthusiastic sadhaka and the foolish epicures who cater to the tongue and demands rajasic and tamasic food. Far from condemning the householder's life, Baba calls that life the Guru. For it is only through the toils and turmoil of the family that people get the urge towards the higher life of the spirit. He says that, but for these troubles, many would not have come to him at all. But having come and known him, they cling to the Godhead, whether their troubles are set right or not. They gradually come to feel that such troubles should not be given the importance they ascribe to them. They face them with greater courage and confidence and even understanding. He has written that the sugar cane should welcome the cutting, the hacking, and the crushing, the boiling, and the straining to which it is subjected, because without these ordeals the cane will dry up and it will make no tongue sweet. So too man must welcome trouble, for that alone brings out the sweetness of the spirit within. You desire an ornament and you go to a goldsmith and give him the requisite quantity of gold, but do you spend sleepless nights pining for the heating and the beating, the tugging and the pulling, the cutting and the carving to which the goldsmith subjects your gold? Why then do you worry when the Lord, in order to make a lovely jewel out of you, heats and melts, cuts and carves and removes, draws in the crucible of suffering? Baba is the greater healer, the restorer of drooping spirits, the unique reviver. He insists on truth because falsehood has cowardice as its root, and you hide the facts from a person only when you are afraid of him or you hate him. Truth is based on strength. It is, according to Baba, against the essential nature of man to plead weakness or want of strength. He does not permit anyone to say, I am sin, born of sin, a sinful soul. When any devotee out of contrition piles abuse of himself on himself, Baba immediately pulls him up. When I have come for your sake, you should not feel so, he says. Baba equates balam with punyam and durbalam with papam. That is to say, weakness is sin, strength is holy. Physical, mental, and spiritual strength, all three are essential, but the biggest source of all three is faith in oneself, in the Paramatma within. Remember that and draw strength therefrom. My mission is to give you confidence in yourself, to give you the balam that comes out of that. Despondency is, as Baba says, the prime cause of decline, and so everyone should cultivate the quality of joyfulness. For the contented life is one long festival. Envy eats into the vitals, spreads like poison all over the body politic. Dedicate all, both joy and sorrow, to the Lord. That is the secret of gaining contentment, the most valuable of all treasures. Baba instills the spirit of seva among his devotees, and during Dashera, a day is generally devoted to social service. Its practical applications and the attitude of worship is which one has to render it. He writes and speaks of paropakaram as ultimately upakaram for oneself, and parahimsa as ultimately himsa against oneself. When Madhava himself comes down in human form so that he may be of service to Manava, how happy will he be if Manava engages himself in that seva? He asks. Devote your time for the service of the world, irrespective of the results thereof. But Baba is very particular about the vision, which must inspire the sadhaka who takes up the path of seva. Though the service of humanity is holy, unless it is merged in the higher ideal of Maha, Maha Madhava Seva, realizing the Lord immanent in everyone, adoring the Lord in the form of this person, and that there is no profit at all. One should have full faith in the divinity of man, and service should be offered in the uninterrupted contemplation of the Lord. Use the power and acknowledge and attainments the Lord has endowed you with for the greater glory of the Lord. with sincerity and without any malingering. That is the seva of the Lord, whatever be the field of activity or the region of the duty where you are called upon to render that seva. Very often, Baba devotees an entire discourse for the elucidation of the need of vichara or inquiry as against blind, unreasoning faith. You can ask me any question without hesitation. I am always ready to answer. Only I want people who inquire earnestly with a desire to know. Without analysis and reasoning, the real worth of things cannot be grasped and renunciation will not be possible at all. Sometimes you will have to inquire even into the process of your inquiry, for you might all the time be deceiving yourselves by arguing that your actions are all moral and pure when an unprejudiced mind might condemn them outright. Like Sri Krishna, he also tells people, think of all the pros and cons. Think also of your own experience and then come to your own judgment. Do not be led away by what others might say, by what even I might say. At the gates of moksha or Sakshatkara, there are three sentinels, says Baba, who will admit you inside only if you satisfy them of the validity of your credentials. They are Santosha, Shanti, and Vichara. Even if one of the gods is satisfied, the others will not be very strict. So, cultivate Santosha or Shanti or Vichara. Basically, they are all interrelated. Vichara brought into the realm of Anubhava results in Shanti, that is to say, undistributed undisturbed santosha or ananda. Ask me about some sadhana that you are eager to engage yourself in or some sandesha that you can put into immediate action. Seek something worth your while. That is what Baba demands of us. There is a sense of urgency in the commands that emanate from Baba, for as he says, the time to start on the path of sadhana is now. Start today the sadhana that will have to be done tomorrow, just as a child has to start the alphabet even at a tender age, so that it may be proficient in arts and science when it has to enter life at a later age. So too the spiritual child must start on the alphabet immediately and keep on with the studies. No one can cope with the alphabet in old age or on the deathbed. Every second, the span of life is being shortened. The moment that has gone is no longer yours. The moment that is coming may not be yours at all. So put all your efforts now, this very moment, so earn eternal joy. Among the means to earn this eternal joy, Baba places Namasmarana first, though he speaks and writes also of the three traditional yogas and the three traditional philosophical systems. Baba has to come to end all factions and he emphasizes the harmony of these schools and these systems. I won't say that karma, gnana, and bhakti are separate, nor classify them as first, second, or third in that order, nor accept even a mixture of all three. Karma is bhakti, bhakti is gnana. A block of halwa has sweetness, shape, and weight, all three. So too, each individual deed of the God word man must have the sweetness of bhakti, the shape of karma, and the weight of gnana. Gnana is the product of bhakti, and bhakti is promoted by karma. The noblest karma being namasmarana, japam, and dhyanam. Intense and unconditional bhakti takes one on from salokya mukti to samipya mukti, and from there on samipya mukti, and from there on to sarupya mukti. Sarupya mukti. This is the final result of Bhakti Shastra, but Advaita Siddhanta will not admit this to be the highest state simply because one has Sarupya, the same Rupa as the Lord. We cannot take it that he has the powers of Srishti, Sthiti, and Laya that the Lord has. It is only when all trace of difference disappears that unity is achieved. This is when Sayujya takes place. That can happen only by divine grace. It cannot be claimed as the reward of effort. The Lord can also vouchsafe Brahmagnana to the bhakta. for Purushottama and Prakriti are not two separate entities. He can remove the veil which he himself has cast. A thing and its nature are the same, not two distinct things. Is it possible to see the nature apart from the thing, sweetness apart from the sugar, light apart from the sun? So also Bhagavan has two characteristics. When we speak of them as two, they are known as Purusha and Prakriti. But they are really one. Prakriti in the Bhagavan is unmanifested, inseparable, knowable only by experience, like sweetness in sugar. By mere willing, this Prakriti envelops Bhagavan and the cosmos in the result. That one existence is the basis or foundation of both the universal and the particular, the totality as the apparent parts. This manifested total cosmos or Purna arose out of the unmanifested indivisible indivisible reality or Purna, but yet there is no diminution of the Purna. Baba unreveals the most tangled philosophical problems in easily understandable ways, and the listener or reader sees the solution in a flash of illumination, spread by a simile or metaphor or parable or epigram summarizing the elaboration of an of an hour. In short, his advent is for your sake and mine, for for forging us all into disciplined sadhakas. For as he says, the world can achieve prosperity and peace only through such persons whose hearts are pure and whose minds are free of prejudice and passion, jealousy and greed, anger and envy. May it be our lot to be blessed by His grace so that we too may join the ranks of such disciplined souls. The mission began, Baba spoke on 3 successive days about himself and his mission. He declared that he had come again to proclaim the same doctrine of karma sannyasa and sharanagati. Just as the clouds hide the glory of the sun, the clouds of doubt and delusion hide my glory from your understanding, he said. The thousands who attended the Dashera celebrations of 1960 must be even now remembering the thrilling declarations that Baba made in his discourses about himself and his mission. On the very first day during the hospital day celebrations, Baba said that it is waste of time and energy to force imprehensively abstruse Vedantic doctrines down the throats of simple, unlearned folk. It is foolish to recommend to them exhausting fasts and vigils. Teachers and gurus must urge them slowly forward from where they are, encouraging them to take one step at a time, to give up one evil habit after another, and to lengthen the period of japam and meditation. Baba spoke on 3 successive days about himself and his mission. For the recitation and explanation of the Telugu poem Sri Satya Sai Gita by Vidwan Dupi Tirumalacharyulu on those days provided him with the necessary cue and background. He declared that he had come again to proclaim the same doctrine of karma sannyasa and sharanagati. Just as the clouds hide the glory of the sun, the clouds of doubt and delusion hide my glory from your understanding. He said he wanted that, like Arjuna, all men should now give up the moha born out of ajnana and get realized from the shackles of I and mine. Prema is the seed, bhakti the sprout, faith the manure, Satsanga the rain, surrender the flower, and merging with the Lord the fruit, he declared. You are all more fortunate, he said, that men of previous generations, for you have me as your guide and guardian, watching over you and warning you when your steps go wrong. Make the best use of the rare chance. Do not leap about like frogs, ignoring the lotus that blooms by their side, but be like the bees that swarm from far and near to drink the nectar in plenty. Words such as these resonate with the authority of the Lord who called upon all to take refuge in him, came plentifully from Baba in every discourse. Faith in its own reward. It will reveal truth. If you consider that Krishna was a cowherd, you reduce not only Krishna but yourselves too to the level of the cowherd boy. Take him to the Lord residing in the shrine of the heart of your heart, and he acts as your charioteer. Do not deny um, or doubt or hesitate to acknowledge the Lord when He has made Himself available so easily to your prayers, he said. You cannot grasp the full significance of the avatar or stand the full splendor without a period of preparedness, and hence I reveal to you only small installments of the glory, like the creation of Vibhuti, etc. He said one day, no, it is not in my nature of scatter attractions to draw people towards me. I shower joy without any purpose. It is on account of this that I revel in Mahimas. Lifting the screen that hides his divinity from us, he declared another day. Some ignorant people commenting on me say that I have a double personality. Daivatvam, divinity most of the time, but Manushyatvam, humanity the rest of the time. But have faith in this. I am ever and always of the Tvam, of the Iti only. God does not change or get transformed. I am telling you this because there is a superior spiritual attachment between us, not the mere casual connection of visitor and visited. Another day he spoke in a more minatory tone. I must warn you all against false teachers and deceitful gurus. There are many such who go about performing imitation samadhis, pretending that they have fallen into divine ecstasy and promising to communicate that ecstasy to those around them. They lecture during the samadhi and dance and sing in what they call Rasa Krida. They deserve only severe castigation for all their pains. Keep away from this. He said, I will soon take up the task of exposing these impostors and granting them the punishment they deserve, he announced. On Guru Purnima Day 1961 at Mysore city, Baba called upon the devotees and followers to keep a strict watch over this class of gurus and warned them against the slightest tinge of greed, egoism, pride, envy, and hypocrisy. The time has come to weed out the gurus who are setting bad examples to the sishyas, the sannyasis who compete in the accumulation of comforts and the acquisition of fame. He said, I shall soon enter upon this task. It is one of the purposes for which I have come, he announced sannyasis who have given up all ties with the world and decided to burn their boats should not celebrate their birthdays. They should not pester the rich with their importunity for donations and funds. They should not cater to the egoism of their followers by granting them pompous titles, praising their spiritual attainments. Once you start diluting the strict discipline prescribed for monks, you cannot arrest the inevitable fall. Dharma Stapana requires that the dharma of the sannyasi should first be corrected because it is he who compounds the respect of all and it is he who holds forth the spiritual ideal. If he begins to compromise and slide down the path, then religion will become the laughing stock of all. The same sankalpa was lingering in the discourses that Baba gave during the birthday celebrations in November. Addressing the vast gathering of the villagers of Puttaparthi, he said, for more than 20 years now, you have been seeing only the light, not benefiting by the warmth, for you did not care to come near. But I knew that this day would come and that you would all one day give up doubt and delusion and recognize the way to peace and happiness. Believe me, this Puttaparthi is soon to be a Tirupati. Thousands of yogis, sadhus, and aspirants will be coming here in future years and derive solace and salvation. The re-establishment of Sanatana Dharma will emanate from here. On Mahashivratri day, he emphasized the universal aspect of his message and declared that it was all the humanity that he had come. There is no one in this world who does not belong to me. All are mine. They may not call out my name or any name, but still they are mine. The meaning and significance of these profound utterances became evident only at Coimbatore, where Baba installed the marble image of the previous Sharira, the former avatar Shirdi Sai Baba, at the famous Naga Sai Mandir. Truly, it was a historic occasion. that function on the 26th day of February 1961. The Naga Sai Mandir is so called because Shirdi Sai Baba had given darshan to countless devotees there as a Naga or cobra, which rose up from the heap of flowers, listened to the bhajan for hours together, and even posed for a photograph before finally disappearing. This miracle took place 17 years ago, and the mandir has since then served the spiritual needs of thousands from the city of Coimbatore and surrounding areas. This was the first occasion on which Baba was formally installing for daily worship an idol of his previous manifestation, and so devotees were eagerly expecting some important pronouncement from Baba that day. Not for they disappeared, Baba said. It is really amusing, it is not, that I should install this idol of myself in another manifestation. I am doing so for a very valid reason. This day deserves to be inscribed in letters of gold, for this function is the beginning of a new era, the Satya Sai era, when Sai will become the Hrudayasthai, the inner motive force of all. The only other instance of a similar kind of an avatar installing an idol of the Lord is that of Rama installing the Ishvara Linga at Rameshwaram. That was done as a preliminary to the destruction of Ravana and Rakshasas, to the divine task of Dushta Nigraha. Now I am doing this as a preliminary to the other task of all avatars, Dharmastapana, the establishment of Dharma in the world. Epoch making declaration, indeed, words ushering in the new age of love and justice, of peace and unity. Clarion call for humanity to gather under the Satya Sai banner. Now wonder the reception at Udumalpet, which Baba visited the next day after that momentous declaration, was magnificent. There too, Baba called upon the people to partake in the great resurgence of Dharma that was imminent. Baba has often said that the holiness of a place of pilgrimage is proportionate to the devotion which the bhaktas bring with them and the sincerity of the prayers which they pour forth before the shrine. But when Baba himself visits a temple or place of pilgrimage, the effect is more profound. It is like a rundown battery being charged from the very fountainhead of all holiness. Baba had declared that this is so, and that the purpose of his standing before certain shrines is to enhance their spiritual efficacy. It was therefore gladdening to hear that Baba planned a tour of Ayodhya and Benares after a short stay at Madras. On 23rd March, Baba addressed a mammoth gathering at the railway stadium, Perambur, and the silent admiration which the assembly evinced throughout the address made Dr. B. Ramakrishna Rao, the governor of Uttar Pradesh, who was presiding, declare, I was all these days very sad that in spite of the marked progress in the economic and cultural fields after independence, there was not much joy and contentment and peace and neighborliness and love in the land, for want of the emphasis in people's daily lives on the moral tone and the spiritual discipline. But today I have regained hope. This vast gathering, the welcome you accorded to Baba, and the um, earnestness with which you have been listening to his words have told me that the moral progress of this nation is assured. Dr. Ramakrishna Rao invited Baba to Lucknow, and when he was there, he allowed the citizens of Lucknow to attend the bhajan sessions at the Raj Bhavan, thus enabling many of be blessed by him and to get initiated by him in the first steps towards the higher life. Some fortune few were made aware of his presence by some miraculous happenings which brought more seekers to him. He also addressed a meeting at the town hall under the auspicious of the Andhra Association, the Telangana Sangha, the Kerala Associations, and the Mysore Association, who felt that they should honor him, presumably because Baba hailed from the south of India. But as Baba said once, Dakshinamurti does not belong to Dakshinapata. So Baba advised those associations to give up compartmental loyalties and inaugurate in place of various sanghs, one satsang and association of good people striving to become better, by systematic japam, dhyanam, and lokaseva. Since the suggestion had the sankalpa of Baba behind it, the satsang was formed without delay, and Baba himself inaugurated the new chapter of harmony and unity and spiritual brotherhood in Lucknow. From Lucknow, Baba proceeded to Ayodhya with a small group of devotees. He pointed out to them the various places associated with the Ramayana and the spots sanctified by divine events. He said that bhakti was still very deeply implanted in the hearts of the people in the area, for he could hear the unceasing Rama Nama Japam emerging from their hearts. He visited the Rama temple and said that what is found in the Virat is found undiminished and unalloyed in the limited Swarupa also. Only the power has to be constantly nourished by the rituals prescribed, the sincerity of the prayers, the purity of the devotees that gather, and of the priests and archaks, and the sanctity of the atmosphere. People worship the Lord as existing in Ayodhya or Dwaraka and nowhere else. That is wrong. He is everywhere. Limiting him is to deny his glory. All this diminishes gradually the efficacy of the holy spot, and it can be increased only by more and more sincerity among the devotees or by the Lord himself out of his grace.
Thank you, Sister Bharti, for the beautiful rendition. Sister Geeta, you may continue from here. Thank you.
Sarah. Baba blessed the devotees on the bank of the Sarayu and later took them to a temple of Hanuman built in the territory that, according to legend, was given to him by Rama himself. Given so that he might establish a kingdom resonant ever with the name of Rama. Baba distributed the prasad of the temple to the devotees, adding in the process the prasad, as he said, of Sai Rama to that of Saket Rama. From Ayodhya, Baba reached Sarnath the same night by car, and on the 21st day of April, Baba and his party visited the ancient temple of Vishwanatha at Benares. The temple, immortalized in history and legend, in song and poetry, by epics and Puranas, by bards and saints, the great shrine of the Lord of the universe. The lingam in this temple has been bathed reverentially by millions of pilgrims for thousands of years with the sacred waters of Ganges. Benares itself is considered as holy land, every inch of it, and death there is supposed to lead to the end of all misery of birth and death. To be with Baba inside the shrine was indeed a rare and elevating experience, for he is the Bala Shiva himself, as those who have had a glimpse of his glory know. And we all expected that Baba would do something, some miracle to heighten the sanctity of the shrine, to offset the decline caused by egoism and doubt. Baba watched the ceremonial pouring of Ganges water on the lingam and the recitation of the traditional mantras. Then, as though impelled by a sudden decision, he moved forward and, materializing the Kailasa Vibhuti in his palm, he applied it in three broad lines to about three-quarters of the rounded image, making it shine with a peculiar splendor. Another miracle was in store, for he created some sandal paste of another worldly perfume and consistency, and patting it into a round shape. He approached the lingam again and applied it to the center of the triple lined vibhuti. The archaks and the others stood aghast with wonder at all this, but we knew that Baba was performing a ritual with a significance profounder than that of any done hitherto. Then, by another wave of the divine hand, Baba materialized a priceless jewel which cast its captivating effulgence around the shrine. It was a gem set Pranava symbol, rubies around the circumference, diamonds forming the three vibhuti lines, cornelian in the center of the vibhuti to represent the sandal dot, emeralds artistically designed like bilva leaves forming a green border of for the Pranava, and above all, the pranava itself, a blaze of diamond on a curtain of gold. The devotees burst into song, and the chorus of Om Shivaya echoed and re echoed through the temple aisles. Baba placed the pranava on the sandal paste. He had already put on the face of the lingam and asked that arti be performed. Those who observed this ceremony that morning in the most historic of India's temples can never forget it. Baba then directed every member of his party to perform the Abhisheka to Vishwanatha with Ganga Jala to the chanting of sacred mantras like Sri Rudram. He also led to the Annapurna temple and the Vishwanatha temple in the Banaras University campus. The carvings and sculptures in the latter place were explained by Baba to the devotees, for he alone knew the unwritten details of the Vedic and Puranic incidents depicted therein. On 3rd April, Baba was in Allahabad, blessing the holy Triveni Sangam by his presence and showering with his own hand the sacred waters of the confluence on the pilgrims. He also visited the Saraswati Kupa, the Hanuman temple, and the original Akshaya, Akshayavata mentioned even by Huan Tsang inside the fort by the side of the wall facing the Yamuna. Baba returned to Puttaparthi on the 8th of April, halting at Tirupati for one day to preside over the Tyagaraja Utsava celebrations there. At Tirupati too, Baba spoke of idols and idol worship, for that was the refrain of his North Indian tour. The sadhaka should see not the stone, which is but the material stuff of the idol, but the Chaitanya that is inherent in it, that is symbolized by it. The same Chaitanya that is inherent in himself and that pervades, moves, and transcends all creation. Then only is idol worship and temple worship meaningful and beneficial. Many people laugh at those who worship idols and condemn it as blind superstition, but reason is rendered dumb before the testimony of actual experience. All the arguments that logic can frame, all the tricks that dialectics can formulate, are powerless to nullify the effect of that inner evidence. The idol is not a mere external adjunct or apparatus or object. It is a part of the inner mechanism of relationship. If worship is carried out in the confidence that the idol is saturated with consciousness, it will bestow the highest bliss. After only a week's stay at Puttaparthi, Baba left for the Nilgiris, where the people were long anxious to have the honor of welcoming and serving him. The entire Nilgiris, from the smallest hamlet in the farthest corner to the biggest plantation, joined in the reverential homage. Baba condescended to visit the villages around, and the sincerity and simplicity of the riots were so touching that even long-standing devotees were moved into admiration. Baba himself gave expression to this. He said at the public meeting of Uttakamand, here, the people are full of bhakti, and the bhakti has endowed them with vijnanam and shraddha. At every village, Baba called upon the people to supplement the efforts they now make to earn physical sustenance by making efforts to win spiritual sustenance also. The Nilgiris, which Baba christened as Holy Hills, fell at Baba's feet, and the spirit of surrender is well summarized in the song composed and sung by an aged riot at Achanakal. He sang, "Oh, come, my brothers, this is not our home, this leaky, stuffy, ramshackle shelter. Our home is eternal, worldwide. It is there on the banks of the Chitravati. Its name is Prashantinilayam, the abode of peace." Or we can quote a Badaga song in folk meter, which the villagers of Ithalur sung with gusto. He has come, the Lord, to bless us with a golden halo like the sun. He is here among the hills with a crown of silver moon. He drives along a down around the creeping, climbing roads to touch each stricken heart in city, town, and hamlet, assuring, "Do not fear." Even while Baba was in Nilgiris, he was arranging for a tour of the Himalayas and informing such of the devotees as were selected by him to join the fortunate party. He returned to Puttaparthi via Madras and Hyderabad in the first week of May. The visit to Badrinath was first mooted by Baba 3 years ago at a bhajan session held on the sands of the Chitravati. He said then that he would like the bhaktas to the place where he was doing tapas, and we were wonderstruck, for that was the first time we had ever heard of tapas associated with his earthly career. At least I was a bit confused, for I was until then convinced that Baba indulged in no tapas here or anywhere, corporeally or extracorporeally. But I did not pursue the matter and try to get an answer. The visit became a certainty, and plans were ready, and the party fixed. Before the end of May, Baba greeted them all with his darshan at the Etiraja Kalyana Mandapam, Alwarpet, Madras, on the 7th day of June and sent them by train to Delhi, where he promised to bless them personally since he proposed to fly to the capital the very next day. The train reached Delhi about 6 hours late, and when the hungry, tired, and distracted devotees arrived at last, they found Baba shedding cool comfort and consolation and strength by his smile and his motherly attention. The next day at Haridwar, the governor of Uttar Pradesh, Dr. B. Ramakrishna Rao, joined Baba, for he too had planned a visit to Badrinath. On 11th June, Baba and His Excellency attended the evening aarti to Ganga Mata at the Brahmakund. The vast assemblage of pilgrims got the darshan of Baba at that holy spot. Baba blessed the priests and archaks with the vibhuti that he materialized, and he sprinkled the sacred waters of the Ganges on those around him. That night, Baba called together the devotees who were to accompany him to Badri and reminded them of the rare privilege that they had won. You have the good luck of proceeding with the manifested form to the unmanifested form, whereas usually people pray to the unmanifested form immanent in the idol to manifest itself before their eye so that they might win the fruit of their sadhana, he declared. We were thrilled with joy at the revelation. He then described in great detail the sacred shrine to which he was leading us, as if he knew every nook and corner of the holy area. When he disclosed that Narayana was there depicted as in Tapomudra or doing penance, and explained that it was called Badrikashram on account of this, I began to see light, and the doubt that assailed me on the Chitravati sands 3 years ago about Satya Sai Baba and tapas melted away in a blaze of joy. Baba spoke also of the subsidiary shrines in and around Badrinath, and also of certain unknown aspects of its sacredness. For example, no guidebook has published the information that Shankaracharya brought from Kailash 5 lingams, and that he installed one each at Badri, Puri, Sringeri, Dwarka, and Chidambaram. But Baba revealed this fact that night. Baba planted in every heart the pilgrim mood of prayer, of brotherhood, and of loving service. From Haridwar to Badrinath, a distance of nearly 182 miles, every inch of the road is saturated with penance and prayer, asceticism and aspiration. Myth and legend and history around, have woven round every spot stories of sages and saints, of sacrifice and sadhana, of renunciation and rigorous ordeals. The pilgrim is shown places where Shiva, Parvati, Rama, and other gods did penance, where Parashurama performed expiatory rites, where Narsimha cooled his ferocity, where Arjuna won his weapons, and Karna his prowess, and Narda his veena, places where Kanva nurtured Shakuntala and Narda received the Astakshari. It is a narrow and tortuous road cut on the face of the cliff over above the roaring waters of the Ganga or the Alakananda flowing in the ravine below. The party accompanied Baba in full confidence and faith, regardless of the calamities that lurked around every curve of the road and the landslides and the landslips that happened but could not delay their progress. Baba had announced that the rains would be held off until the party returned to Rishikesh, and the clouds obeyed. He willed, and the party returned without a scratch or a prick for anyone. The line of cars, jeeps, and buses coiled round the meandering road and reached Devaprayag, the confluence of the Bhagirathi and the Alakananda, at about noon. One of the purposes of the tour that Baba had planned was to instill in the minds of his devotees and through them of all faith in the scriptures that speak of the sanctity of certain places. He always emphasizes Shastra Vishwasa and Deva Vishwasa. Faith in the Shastras as equally important with faith in the God. So he directed everyone to have a dip in the sacred waters before proceeding to Srinagar, the ancient capital of Garhwal Rajas. There, the party halted for the night. The people of Srinagar, who knew of the arrival of the Baba in this midst, gathered in thousands to welcome him and at night, they organized a program of Pahadi and Tibetan dances, depicting the same hilarity of the hardy mountaineers and hillmen and tribes. Baba blessed them and gave each of them the unique chance of his darshan. On the 13th, the vehicles moved towards Joshimath, where the motor road ends and from where the party had to walk 18 miles to Badrinath. That day too, Baba stopped at Nandaprayag, the famed Kanvashram, and directed the devotees to bathe at the confluence of the Alakananda with the Mandakini. Joshimath is a place where Shankaracharya wrote his celebrated commentaries on the Upanishads, the Bhagavad Gita, and the Brahma Sutras. It is also the winter headquarters of the Mutt, where he established at Badrinath to counteract Buddhist influences that threatened to percolate through the Mala Pass of the Himalayas, just 7 miles away from Badri. Who knows whether Baba's own trek to Badri was connected with the sinister danger to Sanatana Dharma, which is now threatening for the same direction through the same road. On the 14th day of June, early in the morning, the mules and the horses were loaded with luggage, the dandies for the aged were booked, and the party started off in high spirits behind Baba, who led them along that sacred road. 18 miles, miles of narrow, congested road of rubble and stone, trodden into elusive smoothness by millions of pious feet, of gasping climbs and reeling inclines, of danger from falling stones announced prominently and frequently on boards en route. The rapture of snow capped peaks ever on the horizon, the cheer of the cool torrent ever in the ear, broad glaciers descending foolhardily down the valleys into the Alakananda itself, snow lying across the pilgrim's path, streams of pilgrims from all the quarters accosting each other in the language of brotherhood through the words. Though the words might fall a little strange, pilgrims resolutely pulling themselves along on road, the old and even the decrepit with faith as their only stick, some sitting pathetic and forlorn in dandies, carried by perspiring hillmen, some swaying helplessly in candies, tied to the backs of men, some perched on ponies that trot on the perilous edge of the precipice, as if they are determined to commit disaster. Baba walked the distance of 11 miles to Lambagar on the first day and halted the night there. On the 15th, the remaining distance was covered before noon, in spite of the pretty stiff that it involved. The devotees persuaded Baba to ride a horse, but to their great disappointment, he dismounted very soon and resumed walking. Baba encouraged everyone along the arduous path, watching for signs of exhaustion. He directed some to enter Dundee, some to mount ponies, some to put a brake on their overenthusiasm, some to sip a little water, and for some, he even materialized the unfailing, specific vibhuti. And this not merely for members of his party, no, far from it. There were many who sat exhausted on the roadside, and Baba walked towards them and revived them by his sweet glance and words and his vibhuti. One picture will be evergreen in my memory. A mile this side from Lambagar, Baba was sitting on a rock with the devotees all round him, listening to some Puranic story with which he was freshening us for the climb ahead. Pilgrims were streaming along the road in front. Many passed on, too engrossed with their own pains to recognize the Lord within sight. But one woman came, saw, and was conquered. She turned aside and fell at the holy feet. She had the sixth sense to recognize that the feet were holy. She was an adventurous soul and she discovered that Baba was on his way to Badrinath. So, in spite of the exhaustion to which she had been reduced by that long trek, she entreated that she might be taken as one of Baba's party. And what do you think was Baba's reply? You had your darshan here. I was waiting for you to give you darshan. What more do you hope to get there when you come with me? Go, be happy, take this prasad with you. Truly, no one can come near him without his grace, without his sankalpa. The 15th and 16th days of June were rather quiet days when Baba allowed the devotees to perform in the Badrinath temple the pujas they preferred, himself busy with interviews to the many officers, civil and military, and the members of the temple committee who had heard of his divinity and come to have his darshan. On the 17th evening, Baba attended the aarti at the temple. He then drove to the Badrinath hospital where he inaugurated the newly installed X-ray unit, the avatar of the Lord, whose X rays penetrate even the darkest recesses of our heart, from whom nothing can be concealed, pressed a button to take the first photograph of a physical interior of a medical officer in charge who insisted that he must be the first patient. The 17th was, in fact, the day of days, the day selected by Baba for reinfusing spiritual efficacy for charging the rundown battery. During the morning Abhishekam at the shrine, Baba, who was sitting facing the idol, materialized a beautiful four-armed Narayana idol with Shankha, Chakra, Gada, and Padma, an idol of supreme craftsmanship, perhaps sublimating in that form the Narayana Tejas or Shakti before him. Then, in a tris, he he created a golden lotus, a thousand petal one, lovely beyond all imagination. We all wondered why the lotus appeared. But before our wonder could find expression in a gasp, Baba waved his hand again. This time, there was a lingam in his palm, evidently the same that Shankaracharya has installed inside the Badri shrine. This last he placed in the center of the lotus, and with both lotus and the idol placed on a silver plate, Baba came away to the Dharmashala where we were all staying. There, Baba directed bhajan to be done, and while the praise of Narayana was being sung, he rose from the floor, saying, "Now we shall consecrate this lingam again." He showed the lingam to everyone, bringing it himself near each person and pointing out to all the translucence of the material and the form of an eye that was mysteriously incorporated inside it. He called it the Netralingam from Kailasha, materializing a silver vessel full of holy water from Gangotri itself. As Baba announced, Baba himself performed Abhisheka to the idol, the devotees reciting Sri Rudram and Narayana Suktam and Purusha Suktam all the while. After Abhisheka, Baba materialized for the puja 108 bilva leaves made of gold. They fell in a scintillating shower from his divine hand onto the silver plate beneath. Again, the hand was waved. This time, the shower consisted of a heap of tumme flowers with the dew still fresh upon them, tiny bits of fragrant fluff plucked with care from 100 little tropical plants. The puja was performed on behalf of all present by Dr. B. Ramakrishna Rao, appropriate mantras being recited by the devotees. The Netralingam was sent back into this secret niche where it was installed by Shankaracharya 1200 years ago, as Baba explained to us, when it suddenly disappeared for the purpose for which it was drawn out had been fulfilled with the completion of the ritual aforesaid. It had been charged with immense potency and the temple consecrated anew by the manifested form himself. In pursuance of his mission of dharma sthapana, of which promotion of faith in Shastras is an important item, Baba directed every one of his party to offer oblations to the dead at Brahma Kapal that noon. Baba always harps on the need to remember with gratitude the parents who are responsible for one's very existence, for all the chance one has got for struggling upwards towards salvation, for all this joy of sadhana and satsang. Though the departed souls might not be actually in the lokas you locate, or anxiously waiting awaiting the offerings you make. It is your duty to honor them, to remember them whenever you are yourself happy or elevated, and offer them reverential homage. Baba had said often. So when the devotees went to Brahmakapal, the holy spot where the bhog offering of Badri Narayana is itself offered to the mains, Baba himself proceeded thither and blessed everyone while the ceremony was being performed. There were some among the party who were handicapped, according to strict Shastric rules, from offering oblations to the departed, and Baba very graciously collected them together and took them to the river Alakananda for a ritual that he had framed for them. He took from the surging torrent a glass of water, but the divine alchemy of that hand had produced inside that glass, even as it came up from the river, a big cube of vibhuti with a mystic symbol Om carved on one side. Baba tapped the side of the glass, and lo, the water had many grains of till floating on it. Till considered essential for all ceremonies connected with departed souls. He called upon the handicapped once individually, poured the Alakananda Tirtha onto the palm himself, and asked each to offer it to the departed in grateful reverential remembrance. The Badrinath Temple Committee accorded welcome to Baba at a special meeting in the temple premises that evening. His Excellency Dr. B. Ramakrishna Rao presided and translated Baba's discourse into Hindi. The audience of 3,000 mainly consisted of pilgrims as well as the merchants and citizens of Badrinath itself. Baba told them of the five lingas brought by Shankaracharya and of all the sacredness of Badri itself. He said that the Lord is Prema Swarupa and can be realized only through the cultivation of prema. Just as all parts of the sugar doll are uniformly sweet, all those who, according to the Vedas, originated from the face, arms, thighs, and feet of the thousand-headed Purusha are equally saturated with his presence and the prema that is his nature. Baba described the trials and tribulations of the pilgrims, the expense and the exhaustion of the pilgrimage, and he asked the citizens of Badrinath to learn from the continuous stream of men and women something of their faith in Badri Narayana, which prompted them all to make all that sacrifice. He wanted that they should not fleece them to foist things upon them, but treat them with greater brotherliness and kindness. In the night, Baba arranged for the feeding on a really lavish scale of all the mendicants around the temple. The scene reminded us of the feeding during Dasara at Prashantinilayam, for Baba himself served sweets to everyone squatting on the sides of the road and distributed to each person after food a blanket or its equivalent in cash. For the stock of blankets in the Badrinath shops ran out pretty quick. Thus, Baba became, in the short period of 3 days, the cynosure of all eyes. And when he left on the morning of the 18th, people reminded him of the promise he had made the previous evening that he would be visiting the place frequently in the coming years, and accompanied him and his party for a long distance along the road to Hanuman Chatti. Reaching Joshimath on the 19th, Baba returned by car to Haridwar on the 21st, visiting the Andhra ashram at Rishikesh on the way. It must be mentioned here that the party of about 100 devotees, mostly aged and not quite steady, could go through all that twisting and tossing in the buses, all that tramping and climbing among the Himalayan heights, amidst strange climbs, taking unaccustomed food, and come back hale and hearty, healthy and contented, as per schedule, fresher than when they started, only through the ever present, all powerful grace of Baba. From Haridwar, Baba went to Nainital, where many people were awaiting his arrival. He granted them courage and consolation and spiritual guidance during the interviews he granted. He also visited the Gita Satsang established by Swami Vidyanand Ji. An address was presented to him there in Hindi. He spoke to the sadhakas of Nainital on the value of concentration, quoting the sloka from the 18th chapter of the Gita, where Krishna asks Arjuna, Kachit etat shrutam partha tvaikagrena chetasa. Has this been heard by you, O Partha? with one point in mind. From the same shloka, he drew the conclusion that the Gita, then as now, is intended for the removal of moha, the ajnana sammoha, the delusion born of ignorance, which makes man mistake the unreal as real, the false as true, the transitory as permanent, the source of sorrow as the source of joy. Returning to Prashantanilayam on 4th July, Baba himself graciously described to the Bhaktas the ritual at Badri as well as the incidents of the tour. He gave them too the holy Tirtha of Gangotri, which he materialized for their sake. A second time at Puttaparthi, he wanted that those who went on pilgrimage to holy places must demonstrate in their daily conduct that the holiness has entered their hearts and transformed their words and deeds. Shankaracharya, he said, install Narayana at Badri. Each one of you must now install Narayana in your hearts.
Thank you, sisters Bharti and Geeta, for your beautiful rendition today. Let us now conclude this sacred session with Sai, Gayatri, and Samastaloka. ॐ साईश्वराय विद्महे सत्यदेवाय धीमहि तन्नः सर्वप्रचोदयात् ॐ साईश्वराय विद्महे सत्यदेवाय धीमहि तन्नः सर्वप्रचोदयात् ॐ साईश्वराय विद्महे सत्यदेवाय धीमहि तन्नः सर्वप्रचोदयात् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः समस्तलोका सुखिनो भवन्तु समस्तलोका सुखिनो भवन्तु समस्तलोका सुखिनो भवन्तु ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. Thank you all for joining us today. We look forward to connecting with you all again next Tuesday, same time. Thank you, Sairam.
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 Sai Ram.